Welcome once again to the Movies and Stuff Show. My name is Dan, and joining me this week, Marty.
How we doing, sir?
We're doing good. We started on time this week, and I think it messed people up.
Yeah, no one's here for us to see it.
Nope.
We're a tree in the forest.
You know, I tell people 9:15 p.m. and they actually believe me, and then I start, and now I'm 15 minutes early. Look at that. We're 15 minutes early to our show, Marty.
We were gonna get it. We were gonna get it right eventually. So.
Were we? I mean, you had faith that we were actually gonna get it right at some point.
We're a high flying operation here.
See, Robert Melee surprised. He's like, whoa, what's going on here? It's not 9:15 yet.
He's always there for us, though. God bless him.
He is. He hasn't seen this movie yet. I tried to get him to come out last night.
It's not again. It's not. Of course, there's details in the movie that we'll talk about, but it's still a story everyone knows. So it's a lot like
if you lived in the United States, you kind of know it. But I was talking to someone who wasn't in the United States in the early '90s. She grew up in Europe, and she just kind of recently heard about it on a 30 for 30. I think they did recently, and so that was the first time she really...
the 20-year anniversary. They had a lot of stuff on it.
Which I found really interesting too, because and they kind of make a small point of this in the movie. I guess it's not a spoiler. Is it kind of quickly got overshadowed by the OJ stuff?
I love that they added that. We'll talk about it at the end.
That was great.
But I was wondering watching, like, are they gonna? Because this is the beginning of tabloid TV, almost 24-hour news, and it was really the warm up to what happened. Yeah,
totally. They kind of changed. I mean, you had a lot going on at the same time, and they made other references too. They what was the other reference that they made? Not the Lorena Bobbitt one, but the other thing. The Amy Jo Fisher thing. There's an Amy Jo Fisher one, which I guess is that Bobbitt too? It was Fisher, Amy Jo Fisher.
No, Fisher was Buttafuoco.
Joey Buttafuoco. Yeah. That all
stuff. All that stuff. A lot of classy white trash shit going on.
Oh, Jeff Galooly, Joey Buttafuoco. I mean, come on.
Even Bill Clinton was pretty white trash, and he was in the White House.
Review Tanya Harding's honeymoon video. She also did an adult
I was surprised they didn't. Again, another thing we'll talk about later, but they gave her a pretty big pass at the end of this movie.
They did. There was a very I mean, they kept it ambiguous for a while of taking sides and
Yeah. At the end, it was.
At the end, I was like, oh, come on. Is that what she was doing? The boxing? That's what we
she
know.
She was doing the boxing.
I know, but is that what we know?
She was not. They showed her a little bit competitive in some of those fights. Those fights, if you go back and watch them, it's her standing there, not knowing how to throw a punch, and just getting punched in the face until someone says, "All right, please go home."
Yeah, pretty crazy. Okay, let's talk about this movie. So the movie we were talking about, of course, is Tonya. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It had a lot of the elements of Goodfellas. I think that's one of the comparisons they're having that I enjoyed. I liked how they mixed it in with kind of the redoing of interviews. Like they actually took real interviews and they had them just kind of redo it. After seeing Disaster Artist, it made me feel a little bit, is this the new trend where at the end credits they're just going to show the real interview stuff so you can say, hey, look how good our actors did. I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's right at 2 hours. Maybe it's exactly 2 hours.
It says 2 hours runtime.
Exactly 2 hours. An hour in, they've packed so much stuff that it feels like it's later in the movie than it actually is. I remember checking and it was like, oh, this movie's almost done. I was like, wait. It's only been an hour? Successfully cover a lot of ground in short time. And it doesn't drag at all.
No.
I know you have a point, and I actually agree with your point. I saw it on Twitter that we'll get to about 15, 20 minutes that they might have wanted to add to this movie. What about you? You like this?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I remember a lot of this story from back in '94. It was kind of the beginning of Sports Center, ESPN back in the day would cover it all the time. It was on every I actually think they if you could, I mean they showed all the news coverage, but I think they almost downplayed how big this was at times.
Yeah,
Because it was kind of, they showed people outside the houses, but it was on every TV show, every morning show, every night, every late night talk show, it was and it's figure skating. It's not, OJ was a football player. This was just two girls in figure skating, Who else from 20 years ago figure skating do you remember?
But Christy Yamaguchi?
Yeah. And it's just, only because of the Wheaties box probably.
Right, probably. Yeah.
But so I'd known a lot about the story. I'd seen the 30 for 30. I'd seen NBC did a whole thing just with Nancy Kerrigan during the Olympics last year. So I was a little concerned that everything they were going to do in the movie was just going to be kind of stuff I'd seen or just little, retelling of things. But there was a lot in here that was, new to me. A lot of the stuff with Tanya's background. And I love how it starts right away with, this is just their stories. You can believe who you want, because it's really 4 or 5 different perspectives on a story.
Right.
And you don't particularly believe any one of them.
Right.
So the truth is somewhere in the middle of all this.
I actually believe the mother. Like, honestly.
Well, she was the most honest.
I think she was the most honest one so far.
she claims that she only hit her once.
Oh, yeah, she did say that. Yeah.
It was she said she hit her once during a competition.
Yeah.
And that was the only time she ever hit her. Played by Allison Janney, who won the Golden Globe this weekend. Margot Robbie, of course, is Tanya Harding. Sebastian Stan was really good.
As Galooly.
Yeah. As Galooly, the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Himself. Good. And then my man, the guy on Twitter who I mentioned was really good, who I think stole this movie. The Paul Walter Hauser, who plays the bodyguard. Steals every scene.
I've got some good stuff from him that I wrote down.
And it's all from just, like I said, they took all the quotes and from interviews people they had done either on TV or with the FBI itself or other things they'd said, and they just kind of pieced together the story from that, because he's been dead now 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And Galooly is pretty recluse. He does not, even like when they were doing 30 for 30s, he didn't speak to any of them. So I would assume much of his story is from 1 or 2 interviews he gave back, 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Is I remember the story. I guess we were, I don't know,
11, 12,
13, 12, around that time. Yeah, around that. I remember the story. I remember following it. I remember the end result. I remembered for Kerrigan. I remember she won the silver.
Yeah,
like that was in my head. Going into the end of this movie, I kind of forgot what happened in the Olympics for Harding.
Oh yeah, it's like you couldn't write it. I mean, she just completely fell apart again.
Yeah.
On the world stage.
I forgot about that. Like,
God forget how many people were watching this thing. It had to be record numbers for watching this event, because the whole world was for no real reason. For silly reasons. If this happened today, I don't think it's the 5th story on SportsCenter.
I think it's an assault of
assault, but it was not. I think they take a lot of shots at Kerrigan in this, and she is. There was a thing even today with Tanya Harding was on with Piers Morgan on his show in London, and he kind of attacked her for, putting herself as a victim when Nancy Kerrigan really was. But Nancy Kerrigan got to kind of just go away and never be bothered again.
Yeah.
And she got hit in the knee as a startling, scary event, but she was back on the ice in a month or so.
Yeah.
It wasn't
originally. It was like they broke her kneecap.
No, she had like a
like a contusion,
sprain.
Yeah, right.
It was it was so crazy how much it's built up about a simple 18-month sentence probably for the assault that the guy got convicted for. It wasn't And also, I want to mention they gave the aspect of, Galooly, we said, Tanya's story, the mother's perspective, and then they had, the TMZ guy at the time was a hard copy guy.
Yeah.
Bobby Cannavale was just this complete sleazy, just jerk off. It was pretty great.
I was like, yeah, I would just have her car towed, or I'd slash her tires.
That was so bad.
Outside.
Because I remember seeing the real footage. They showed the real footage of that on the 30 for 30, having her run out of her house one day, screaming at her car getting towed, and then they pop up to him, like, oh yeah, I would get the car towed sometimes just to get the footage. Son of a bitch. And those are the moments where you do feel bad for Tanya.
Yeah,
who, Robbie is great in portraying her. I heard, a few people have talked about, it's like, oh, how do you have Margot Robbie, the bombshell of the last couple, 5 years or so movies playing Tanya Harding. It's pretty, they're giving a lot of, but they, with makeup and bad 80s hair
and she had to pack on a couple pounds for this.
Yeah.
Like,
but nothing great.
No, like her lower body, like she had to, build up those leg muscles. I mean, she had
skater, but I didn't love
skater legs. Yeah.
It was very, the CGI was pretty obvious though during the skating scenes.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
I mean, you can't do it. You can't teach Margot Robbie how to do a triple, Lux or whatever.
I mean, if you can teach Natalie Portman how to ballet dance, right? I mean,
yeah.
But
yeah, that's when you're watching, like, oh, come on. But it was a wink and a nod. It was a wink thing because a lot of these movies are wink and a nod to the camera a lot of the time.
Yeah. Did you? So you watched with 30 for 30 and you're very familiar. Yeah. So you kind of remember the ending, right? It wasn't.
I remember. Yeah, I knew. Yeah. I remember the infamous, lace breaking or whatever, and her crying to the judges with her feet up on a thing, and then.
I can't remember that.
Really, the major thing of that was that Nancy. Everyone thought, well, she have the storybook ending, give Nancy the gold, and then just this little Russian girl came out of nowhere and got it from her. Nancy was all pissed off, and that's kind of the bloom came off of Nancy's rose there at the end as well, which they touched upon.
Yeah, Tanya Harding saying it looked like she stepped in poo.
Robbie was great. She has that trashy. She plays that trash role so well with the accent and I don't know if she didn't win her
Golden Globe. Yeah.
Golden Globe.
She'll get nominated for an Oscar though. She'll get nominated for an Oscar.
It's going to be tight, but I think it's going to be between her and Chastain for Molly's Game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if she'll win, but she'll definitely get nominated. She'll get nominated for an Oscar, I think. Performances. Again, you mentioned the performance is great. I actually, you mentioned this the CGI, but I actually really enjoyed a lot of the cinematography here. Some great camera stuff on and off the ice. There's just a lot of different elements to how they build the scenes, because I mean, you get stuff in the car, you get stuff in clubs, and you get stuff on in the ice rink, and the way that it's all shot, it brings you down to that seedy kind of level of what's going on. And then when they shoot like the ice skating scenes, it almost seemed the lighting was different when Tanya was on the ice versus when Kerrigan or one of the other skaters was on the ice. It's like they purposely kind of made it a little bit darker, and make you feel as if the world's against her, or she doesn't have a fair chance, or she's really playing up the music and her kind of sleazy, kind of white trashy moves. Like, they really played that stuff up.
Oh yeah, they were when the coach played by Julianne Nicholson, who I think
she was good. She's really good too.
But just her as the real coach, I guess, gets a pass in this one as well. I think. I mean,
yeah,
she was there with Tanya from 4 years old or something.
Yeah, and
just kind of let everything happen around her. Didn't really only cared about.
She came back in once she realized that she could probably get her a medal or get her back into the Olympics.
But just more worried about her conforming to the rules of skating than getting rid of, getting her away from her abusive mother or her husband.
Right. Both that was tough. The spousal abuse stuff. I mean, the child abuse stuff.
Spousal abuse, child. It really is rough scenes.
Some rough scenes. And I said to my wife, I was like, the young version of Tanya Harding actually reminds me of like pictures I've seen of Erin as a kid. So it was even rougher for me to see. And it's like, oh, but the Galooly stuff, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that was the stuff that I wasn't really aware of. Like I said, I knew all the tabloid stuff and the stuff we saw in the news, but that was really harsh behind the scenes. And again, we'll preface it by saying his character says, "I never hit her."
Yeah.
So, but it also looked like they were a couple. And, there are couples that just beat the shit out of each other. It's just there were times where she would throw shit at him and.
With a name like Galooly, though, I don't
know. That was the funny part too with Stan. Like you said, his name. It was true. His name became a verb.
Yep. He changed his name too.
He changed his name. Yeah. And the mustache that made him look like a real creep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but then the relationship he had with the bodyguard Sean, who kind of masterminds this ridiculous hit, and the way they kind of get around it by where they, like I said, they give Tanya passes. They make it seem like Galooly and Harding were just. They show Harding getting a death threat or something early on in the trials of the Olympics or whatever. And then so they decide, oh, we're going to do that to Nancy. And then, that's the plan. But then it got out of hand somehow because.
So weird. Like,
it's just. And that's where I'm saying, that's where I'm, like I said on Twitter, I think they had the perspective of all those other people. If you had added an FBI perspective or any kind of law enforcement perspective, which I've seen, that they've shown in the 30 for 30s and all the other ones, just to give some kind of word we can somewhat trust based on evidence to all this, I think you would have had a better story. Because on those 30 for 30s, they've said they can't come out and say all these, point blank because of whatever agreements or convictions that have already happened. But they went to Nancy Kerrigan with evidence saying it's pretty clear that Tanya knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And, this was ordered this way. Because, they even show it in one scene in the movie where she's calling someone to get her practice time and, where she would be at one time, which she wouldn't need to just write a threat to her. So.
Yeah, right.
And then that was that great scene where they show the hitman driving back and forth in the same park.
And she wasn't even there.
And Carnivale comes on like he thought he would be less suspicious by driving back and forth in his park. He was a great line. The biggest boobs in the boobiest story, whatever it was, of all time.
Yeah. And the guy Sean, once it happens, and he's telling everyone, and he's so proud about it. He's like, yeah, my guys are the ones that pulled off that the Kerrigan hit. There's the
that
one scene
was the most Goodfellas kind of scene where where you're telling somebody one story, but then you go back and show 5 different things where
There's the one scene where he's in the house with his parents, and it's on TV. And he yells at his dad. He says, "Dad, make sure it's a blank tape this time."
The first time they had taped over his favorite Star
Trek episode. Yeah. So he had some good stuff. I think it was. I have this written down, and I think it was like shit to fry is a meal best served cold or something like that. It's just like I'm in the theater and I'm trying to write just a couple of notes here and there, and I was like, all right, that's one that has to go in there.
Yeah, he pretends the whole, not pretends, but says or whatever that he's some kind of spy or
counterterrorist operative. Yeah, and he's got he's a counterterrorist specialist. He's got operatives around the world.
It's just silly, and it's like it's not something they wrote. It's something that he was on camera saying.
And in the movie, it's like, no, you're not. It's like, yes, I am. It's like, no, you're not. Yeah, I was published. What were you published in? Travel Leisure magazine.
And there were so many scenes that it ended with someone calling him an idiot walking away, but and he was the reason for this. Like he says it a few times, I'm the reason for all of this, and that's true.
It's nuts.
He's the reason for this movie. 30 years later.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, if it was death threats, it wouldn't be a movie.
Yeah. Plenty. We've seen that 1,000 times where people get death threats for a big game or whatever. We've seen that in movies. It's always one scene where it's like, oh yeah, well, let's drive on. Whatever.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't even been reported.
No, it's just been like, oh, we'll beef up security.
Yeah.
I'm sure every Olympics someone's getting a death threat from somebody.
Right. Yeah. Lots of music. Very big soundtrack. Good mix of music. I do have a question for you though.
Mm-hmm.
Better use of a song. We talked about Thor, right? Mm-hmm. And use of Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. And we were saying is like, it's probably the most memorable of this year of 2017. All right. So that was the preface. Better use of the song The Chain. This or Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
I would say this because I hated Guardians of the Galaxy 2's music for the most part. And this just paints, it puts you in such a white trash mode with some of the music in this thing with, driving in the shitty cars or in the shitty bars and figure skating in a strip mall somewhere. It's just...
I find it funny, though, is I remember criticizing Thor about using Immigrant Song twice in the movie. Yeah. They use it in the beginning and then they reprieve it at the end. I totally forgot until recently that Guardians of the Galaxy did the same thing with The Chain. And until I I rewatched it recently. And I was like, oh yeah, they do the same exact thing. That's so weird that you would have this reprieve of this song, and then in the scene where everything's kind of like breaking down at the end, and it's that song just kicks in, and you just got Tanya walking through crowds, and it's just like it's like, all right, yeah, way better usage of this song. It's a great song. Fleetwood Mac, it's a great song, and you won it back. You won that song back after Guardians of the Galaxy 2 used it this year. So way to go, Tanya. No, great soundtrack. I really enjoyed it. I think it really added to what the movie was about, with the style of the movie. I think it really meshed well. Let's talk about white trash in general. Growing up white trash.
I will not, not to puff our chest, but we have some experience.
We do. I mean, I think not to say we're experts on growing up white trash, but I do think we have
we do
some experience.
We're not far removed.
No.
And that's always my thing. There are so many things that happen to Tanya and her growing up, but only fleeting moments do you then feel sorry. Not that you don't feel sorry for her, but it's like at some point, she's still an asshole till right now.
Yeah.
In the 30 for 30 she did, there are friends of hers saying like, you can't believe anything she says. She's just a liar. And even in this, throughout the movie, where even when Margot Robbie's trying to get sympathy and one thing or another, it's the same line over and over again. It wasn't my fault. That wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
That wasn't my fault. And it's like, at some point, I know, you got dealt a shitty hand with your parents, and you made a horrible choice with your husband, but then you always kept going back to him for one.
Yeah.
And at some point, you got to be responsible for your choices, and whether it's the sex tape that they didn't mention in the movie, which she did later on, the very low rent, not even like made, if you want to do UFC or something and train and do something good with your life, but she was doing low rent shit boxing matches on.
Yeah, it was like not the Dustin Diamond type boxing stuff,
it was
where you just get
like,
into a ring and get your face punched in.
Yeah, so it's like at some point you have to be responsible for, for your own actions, and there are plenty of people who have that same background who figure, deal with it and strive, and that would be the ultimate story if she was able to do that. But to keep making, you can't go back on that, lean on that for your whole life. You can't say, oh well, my mom was a horrible person, so I'm still can't take responsibility for this thing that I helped orchestrate, even if she wasn't the mastermind of it, or she wasn't saying directly you go do. She was involved in whatever facet she was involved in, and she still can't.
Yeah. Do you think what level of involvement do you think she was?
Like I said, that's why I thought a law enforcement perspective would have been good in this, because they always say they have pretty substantial evidence that says she knew from very early on.
Yeah.
So, and to say she knew nothing of this, I think it's
naive.
Yeah.
I remember, and it's sadly we're not there. I mean, you're supposed to be, innocent until proven guilty, and we're not there as a society, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the complete reverse of that.
Even worse, dude. No.
Yeah. And I remember, being 12, whatever it was, and hearing about this, and just laughing and saying, "There's no way she didn't know about this. How could she not know that?" Like, that's asinine that she wouldn't know about this. And to this day, I still feel, she knew.
And it's it's almost like the Pete Rose thing, where it's like you lie about it for so long, and then even if you did come out and say now or apologize, you're like, either you're doing it for a book or you're doing it for some kind of financial gain. And she had so many opportunities along the way to just own up to it, and whatever facet she did know, she'd take any kind of blame. But they did show the one apology she did give on TV, but it was very, I have to get out in front of this kind of, my lawyer is telling me to say this thing. She never, as far as Nancy Kerrigan has been interviewed, she's never said she apologized to her face to face. She's never made that attempt. So, I mean, it's just like I said, her post, she got a raw deal. I can't, as far as they show that, when she gets her sentencing and she's thrown out of figure skating, which is kind of the point of the whole movie, that figure skating didn't want her around anyway, so that made it easier for them to get rid of her.
Yeah.
But there have been so many points in her life past that, where she just continued to do trashy things and just, garnered no kind of empathy really anymore.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns about this movie is they do paint her in a more sympathetic light, and that people are going to start writing kind of revisionist history about this.
Which started on Sunday because she was at the Golden Globes, and Janny thanked her from the stage, and I mean there's still you make movies about people who make horrible choices and do horrible things, but you don't to glorify them almost in a way. We kind of said the same thing about Disaster Artist when we were talking about that, how they kind of give him a pass at the end of that movie for everything he's done, and he's continuing he's getting celebrated now for different reasons, but to at the end of the movie to paint and she was a victim of many things, but to kind of just paint her in the end as this just fighter who is still getting up off the mat and like in a boxing thing, and it's just come on, she's made horrible choices after horrible choice after horrible choice, and to say that she was the victim in all these circumstances, and like I said, the movie does say in the beginning, trust who you want, and everyone's saying 3 different things at the same time, but then in the last half hour, almost everybody kind of gives an apology to her that's being interviewed, and she doesn't give one herself.
Yeah.
So again, it's the whole victim. It's nothing was ever her fault theme that kept coming up through the movie.
Yeah, I like the story telling, the structure of this. It bounces back and forth between, I guess, the now, if you not the now, but what they consider the now, the interviews that take place after all of these events. So it bounces back between then. It shows her as a kid. It shows her how she gets into figure skating. It shows her going up through the ranks and how she just can't get a break, if you will. But then she's the first woman to ever do this, the triple axel, right? The triple. And so that really catapults her into being able to compete. She does the first Olympics in '92.
Yep.
Right?
Wins 4th place.
Yep. And then they make the announcement that they're not going to wait 4 years for the Olympics. They're going to do it in '94. They're going to do 2 years. And leading up to that, that's when Kerrigan kind of gets into the picture. So they lead up to the whole story, and they even show them like hanging out. She's like, it's like, we hung out all the time. Like, who would do such a thing to a friend?
But I thought Robbie played that great because she kind of read that line in the almost Harley Quinn type of face. And
it was great delivery. And then it leads up to the attack, and then the after. Oh my god, how fucking funny was he hits her. The fucking guy hits her. I need to know who that actor is too, because I've seen him before and I really like him.
I got the thing up here.
He hits her, and then he's got nowhere to run. No exit plan, and he just like bursts through the glass.
Headbutted the glass.
And then he tackles some guy for no reason.
Just some old guy there just tackles him.
He does the Goldberg spear, knocks him over, gets into the car, drives away. I've seen that guy before though.
They did, even the police when they came arrest him, like, you guys didn't cover this in any way possible.
Yeah, you put everything on like your credit cards.
They just wiring cash to each other. What was it? I can't remember the guy's name in the movie. I thought it was Wayne or something.
Yeah, Derek. There's Derek and
there was Derek. Yeah,
Derek is the other one. Yeah,
not showing up. Derek Smith was Anthony Reynolds. And then Shane Stant was Ricky Russert.
Okay.
Maybe where you've seen him before. He's on MacGyver this season. If you want to.
I don't watch
that. Banshee. Did you watch that?
No.
It was on that.
No.
I don't know where else you would seen him.
I don't know.
Even the director, very
Yeah, he what
Greg Gillespie.
What have I seen him from?
No, this is only his, fits. I think 7th, 1, 2, 3.
Nothing like super big either. Right?
The Finest Hours he did last year, which was nothing special.
What do I know him from
though? He did a couple episodes of United States of Tara. Trooper TV movie. Did $1 Million Arm. He did.
He did Lars and the Real, and he did the Fright Night remake.
Yeah,
that's what I know him for. He did the Fright Night.
Pretty impressive for, like I said, not much of a pedigree so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the style, like you said, of the bouncing back and forth from the different storytellers, and sometimes during the actual storytelling, talking to the camera itself.
Yeah.
Up until, like I said, it was great, and just the ending, I didn't love how they ended. And I think they wrapped up, like I said, only 2 hours, so they wrapped up the ending pretty, for such substantial stuff that was happening at the end. They kind of wrapped it up in a hurry, and not much of an epilogue that you might have wanted.
Yeah, and again, like I think just the way that they handled her post assault career.
It was just the boxing they mentioned.
Yeah,
and they gave her credit. They gave her credit for that, almost like, no, she's fighting. Yeah. And they made her look athletic, and in some, like, they showed her getting her ass kicked. Don't get me wrong, but she was not even competitive in a lot of those things. Yeah. And like I said, no mention of the sex tape or any other trashy things she did, other D-level celebrity, reality shit. Or that, they could have said something about Nancy being the more celebrated, on Dancing with the Stars, on Ice Capades, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, overall, really good. I enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. One of the better movies I've seen this year. We're starting to get into that. Like, we're gonna have a lot of releases that are coming out soon. That it's just gonna. Our lists of the best movies are gonna start being made. I feel now.
Yeah, right? It's kind of a weird time because
isn't that so bizarre?
Yeah, because you like end of 2017, you're like, oh, what's the best movie of the year? But then
you end up seeing most of them in the beginning of 2018.
Yeah, that's why when I only start talking about best movies of the year when I start seeing them in either February or post that, because they put so many out just in 4 or 5 theaters in December just to get onto
and you can't see them, and even when they come out, they all come out at once. I'm looking like you mentioned, was it Maggie's Game is out right now?
Maggie's Game is out now. Molly's Game. Sorry.
Molly's Game.
The Post is coming out this week.
And All the Money in the World.
Yeah, that one, and Shape of Water. Which, again, this is where we always talk about. If you just, for these not small, these are still big movies, but figure out a way to put them up on some kind of service or some good,
Watch them all, man.
And you could, I would definitely watch them, watch them all. Like we had a fucking big snowstorm last weekend. You would watch 5 of them, and pay, whatever, charge $10. I'll pay it.
Absolutely. It's worth it. Like, yeah, it's tough because I have the text right here as you saying, Molly's Game, Tanya, All the Money in the World. Yeah, and I'm like,
they're all going to be nominated. They're all got great actors.
All 3 of them sound good. I mean, Tanya was the one I was, we saw the trailer for this. The first time I saw the trailer for it was at a Disaster Artist, and so I was really interested in seeing it. And but any one of them, and with the Post, and I mentioned to you, Florida Project is out. I want to see that.
We still got about 6 weeks until the Oscars, so there's still time to see him.
Comes out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
He did not he was up for the Golden Globe. He didn't win, so be interesting to see what happens with Oscar time.
Speaking of Golden Globes, you want to talk some Golden Globes now?
Yeah, we'll start with Alice and Janney, of course, like we mentioned, winning for.
Tanya. Yep.
Again, it was best. How they break it up with Golden Globe, so it's best supporting actress in a
comedy.
Yeah.
This is considered a comedy musical, or is this drama?
Forgive me. They only break it up for the main actor and actress. So she won best supporting actress in a movie.
In general. So
she is. It's between her and Laurie Metcalf for in Lady Bird for the Oscar. But I wanted to talk about that for a second because it seems like play a horrible person, you win an award. And you always hear wrestlers talk. It's always easiest to play a bad guy because you can just do whatever the fuck you want. So it's like, do we give too much credit to people who either play a Nazi or play a slave owner or play your boy Sam Rockwell also won for best supporting actor for 3 awards.
Did he? Oh, good for him. Good for him. Awesome.
Like I said, he's great, but he again plays a racist, ignorant, violent cop.
No, but still, very happy for him.
Oh, okay, it's great, and he's great in it. But it's like we always seem to celebrate the worst of people in these movies for some reason.
I have to shoot him a message. I didn't know that. I feel bad.
Yes, and so he'll be the favorite for the Oscars. Well, him and Plummer.
So, for All the Money in the World. Yeah. Which again kind of plays a scumbag there.
Which is weird because again plays a scumbag.
Which is weird because that was Kevin Spacey's award.
I was wondering if he won. It's like I wanted to be like, all right, have the balls and thank Kevin Spacey.
I want to thank Kevin Spacey for assaulting little boys and allowing me to take over his spot. Yeah.
James Franco wins for best performance in the motion picture, musical, or comedy. So that's how they break it up there.
But he just got whacked with allegations, right?
Yeah, I tweeted today. This might not be the year to win because anytime you get mentioned, it seems people are going to throw something at you. And not say it's not true. I'm sure it is.
I could see it too.
And then also Gary Oldman won for Darkest Hour, which we've talked about a few times on the show. And they threw a quote, not too long ago. He was, I think it was a Playboy interview.
I remember that interview.
Supporting Mel Gibson, and not so much supporting him, but just kind of, and he's not wrong. He kind of called out the hypocrisy of it. It's like, well, you don't think people talk like that? It's like, he's right, but still, shut up. And it was funny in the same interview, he talked shit on the Golden Globes, saying, who cares about the Golden Globes? It's, worthless award. And then he's up there thanking everybody in the world when he wins. So that was just funny. And then even, Guillermo del Toro wins for Shape of Water. He almost has to apologize because, who was it? I forget who was doing the presentation, but whoever, it was either Portman or, I haven't died for him, but it was when she said it was, here's the nominees, all men. And then they read them off.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
like, all right, we're sorry. But then, he has to get up there, sheepishly and get his award. Kind of ruined that moment for him. Best Picture for drama went to 3 Billboards, which I completely recommend as well. We've talked about that a few times. Musical comedy went to Lady Bird, which I haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure what.
Is it still 100 on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, I'm not sure which elements of it are musical or comedy. Golden Globes does weird things just to get everyone out.
The Martian was a.
The Martian was a comedy, which Ridley Scott loved. So that'll be those 2 for the Oscar. With it's still Dunkirk is there. It's going to be interesting how many they nominate this year because there's probably 8, I would say, worthy. Between 3 Billboards, Dunkirk, The Post. Even if it's not great, it's Spielberg, Hanks, and Streep, so it's going to get nominated. Shape of Water, everyone seems to love. That'll get nominated. Calling by Your Name is that kind of indie darling of the year that people are going to want to nominate. Then Lady Bird is right there, and then it'll be interesting to see if Disaster Artist, which was nominated this time for this
maybe
comedy musical, so it'll depend on how much they branch out with these with the selections, because they can go to 10, but they rarely do. And then actress Frances McDormand won for 3 Billboards, so they were the big winners of the night. And then the comedy one went to The Woman from Lady Bird. So you got to figure that's going to be interesting to see how they break down that one, because we talked about Robbie getting a nomination.
So very white winners, right? I mean,
I'm going to scroll, but I'm assuming all.
Well, Guillermo del Toro is.
Del Toro, yeah, but I don't think he gets credit for. Screenplay was a writer for 3 Billboards. Coco won motion picture animated, so that's kind of not. And then Golden Globes is also the TV stuff.
I can't even think of. Were there any black actresses nominated?
One. No, a couple supporting wise, but for Best Actor, the kid from Get Out got nominated.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Daniel. He's not getting nominated for an Oscar, though.
It'd be tough. I mean, you got Franco. Oldman's going to get nominated. Daniel Lewis going to get nominated. Tom Hanks, even if he's not good, is going to get nominated. So that's 4.
Right there. Yep.
And then it's either going to be him or the kid from Calling by Your Name. They threw
There's a rando one in there too,
Yeah, they threw Denzel nominations for that Roman Israel movie, but I don't think that'll last because I don't think he even showed up for that. So it's going to come down to either the Get Out kid or I can't see Hugh Jackman getting nominated for Greatest Showman.
Oh God, I hope not.
And there's still the push for Professor X for Logan to get nominated, but that'll be hard as well.
It's going to be tough. And that would be supporting anyway.
Yeah. But then again, you got Rockwell there and Defoe who are getting nominated. Plummer's getting nominated. Army Hammer.
Guys right there.
Yeah. It's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's you don't want to say, oh, stop talking about it, but these award shows, especially Golden Globes. Golden Globes supposed to be the fun show, and it was very luxury.
Yeah.
So I mean, and they're all right, you know, can't say anything, but it's like, I'm not sure if people are going to watch 4 more award shows like this. It's hard enough, you know, then you know, it's hard enough watching it, then you got to deal with the Monday of our president tweeting at them, saying why they're all wrong. TV-wise, was all Big Little Lies won a bunch.
I forgot, yeah, the TV stuff.
Ewan McGregor won for Fargo.
Oh, good. Did you see that season?
No.
He's good. He's good performance.
It's so hard picking movies. I don't know how you pick TV. Because there's just so many platforms.
I know. I mean, I like TV better than movies in a way because I don't have a ton of time. So, like, I can easily commit half hour, an hour in a night to watch something. Yeah. So it's easier for me to connect with TV than it is movies a lot of times. But there's so much. There's like you know, I had a coworker of mine asking me about Handmaid's Tale, and I was like, my wife watches it. I've never seen it before.
I don't even have Hulu.
Well,
so,
I mean,
I got to make a deal with somebody probably to get a pass.
I share accounts. Like you know, I get Hulu and Netflix, and my counterpart gets HBO and Showtime.
TV is a little more diverse. Sterling K. Brown won for This Is Us, which I think that's 2 in a row for him now. That's the only network show that's getting any kind of love anymore.
Yeah, everyone loves that. You know, I was so surprised that I didn't realize that Young Sheldon was such a ratings juggernaut.
It's CBS. It doesn't matter.
I thought that was going to be like the worst show on TV and just be off the air in like a minute. It's like...
It almost doesn't count when it's on CBS. And then Aziz Ansari won for Master of None.
Good for him.
I think that's his 2nd time he's won.
Good for him.
Laura Dern, Big Little Lies.
Laura Dern for Last Jedi.
She, I would hope they gave her some love for that one, and she did. Drive that goddamn ship into it for sacrifice. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Have you seen that on Amazon?
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
It just popped up recently. It's Rachel Brosnan won the best actress, and she's a housewife turned comedian type of thing. Then Elizabeth Moss won for Handmaid's Tale. She got there, gave a speech, and then she got some shit on Twitter because she's a Scientologist. So why don't you look inside your own tent? Kind of a deal.
Yep.
So yeah, it's Oprah gets up and gives a big speech to run for president, basically, and then within an hour there's 10 different pictures posted of her
with Weinstein
hugging it up. So it's like there's almost no one pure enough to give a speech anymore.
Yep.
Because half of them have done a Woody Allen movie.
Half of them worked with Weinstein or donated
or Weinstein.
With them or,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the shit of the matter, right? You got someone like Harvey Weinstein, who the industry knew...
that's the thing, too.
...was kind of garbage. Yet he did a lot of good to try to balance that out. Like, I mean, he did a lot of charity stuff. He did a lot of donations. He did a lot of public displays of, I'm not that big of a scumbag. I'm tough to work with. I'm a businessman.
He was just, he's boisterous and tough, but and gets the job done. Kind of shit.
But I mean, there's a lot of charitable events where you see him at black tie dinners and sitting at tables with all these hobnobbing with everyone. There's going to be a picture. There's going to be a picture. There's going to be a story. There's going to be did you read the Selma Hayek story about him?
That was all. Yeah, that was awful.
That was brutal. That was a brutal story to read. That's
again,
tough.
some people were catching shit on that one because all the women that got up there, no one said anything about her. No one said anything about Rose McGowan. So it's like it's hard not to. Everyone means well, and of course it's a message that needs to be said, but no one's clean enough anymore to give these kind of messages without catching shit from the other side.
Same thing. You think of the most pure people in Hollywood. If you had to say the purest person in Hollywood, Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Right.
Up until 6 hours ago, you could have said Stan Lee.
And I'm just saying, like, Tom Hanks probably has had dinner with Weinstein before. There's probably been an awards, after party, or there's
Woody Allen, or
absolutely. But Mel Gibson, even I'm sure
Gibson,
any of those guys. So it's tough. The line gets so blurred, Remember May saying, "Can't wait for next year's award when Roseanne Barr gets to give a speech."
Yeah, she got up there too, and she some stuff is leaking out about the Roseanne show now, what it's gonna be like, and apparently they're gonna be Trump supporters.
Ah, well, that makes sense. Well, she is, right?
She is
in
one.
Real life? She is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess she's saying that makes sense for them to be Trump supporters. But then
sure.
The sister, who God bless her, still Lauren Metcalf was.
Yeah.
I don't know why she would want to even come back and do this shit anymore. But it's going to be the big Hillary supporter. The one clip they showed her with the that pussy hat they had back when it first happened. So I don't know why it's network TV. I mean, I'm not some snob to sell network stuff, but it's like everything is either a remake of a movie from the 80s or 90s, or just a reboot of a series, because you got Will and Grace is on again for no reason.
They're bringing back Mad About You. It's coming back.
Roseanne's, but there's no reason
to bring coming back.
Yeah, with a different version, but it's still come up with something new. Or just I don't know. It's hard to get excited about a Roseanne reboot. 10 years later, when John Goodman's supposed to be dead, but now he's back. So now
he's back. It's fine.
But, and they still have the same couch.
Hey, man. If that couch holds up, you keep it.
So yeah,
I got a couch that's falling apart right now. I'm very jealous of that couch. They apparently didn't have toddlers.
They were not light people for a lot of that time either.
Yeah, no. I got a 5-year-old that weighs 50 pounds and she can break a couch. I'm sure John Goodman's breaking fucking couches. Just saying.
Yeah, so it's like the awards are. I enjoy watching the awards because I like this stuff, but it's just they were already preachy to begin with. So now you throw in this preachy stuff and the Trump preachy stuff, and it's like Seth Meyers, God bless him, he was out there trying his best, but there were some moments like too many Weinstein jokes, too many Kevin Spacey jokes. Like just I don't know, it might have been better just to let it go. Not let it go. Not of course not let it go, but just for a night, just try and have fun or something. I don't know. I don't need the elephant in a room joke about Weinstein. It's like, all right, so we can make fun of him for being fat, but God forbid, you can't make fun of anybody else for being fat because that's offensive. So like, and then Reese Witherspoon, God bless her, going up there as if we don't have video of her at a DUI stop a couple years back talking all types of nonsense, but we'll leave that alone. She's up there talking about Oprah as if she's a deity. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like if you hug her for it'll fix your life. It's like, stop, right? Just stop. And then she gets up there and she gives a speech, and then we're dealing with a whole week of Oprah 2020. It's like, oh Jesus, is this where we are now? Trump versus Oprah in 2020. It's too much.
And now you know why Abe's moving to Canada.
God bless him. Save us some room.
I was about to say, make sure you can bring us in. Vouch for us, Abe.
Robert Melee is clearly jinxing Steve Carell right now.
Oh, Steve Carell's done.
Yep. Something's gonna come out tomorrow.
14th or 13th, something like that. 12th anniversary of 40-year-old virgin. It's something ridiculous. It makes me feel old.
He's aging a lot, but still gracefully. He still looks alright out there. Yeah. He's built a
nice career. He's built a nice career. He did the Battle of the Sexes this past year.
Yeah, that got nominated for that's Golden Globe nomination. God bless him. But then he did a movie with Cranston, and that didn't get much play.
Yeah. He's building a nice little post-comedy career. Of course, he was the DuPont, right? He did the DuPont movie a couple years ago.
Yeah, that was great. That was good
for that.
Yeah,
that was really good.
And then the other big news of the day was Stan Lee getting accused of the nurses at the I don't think it's not a nursing home, but I guess he has nurses come to the house and all types of lurid allegations coming with that. Which, I don't know. I guess, don't you get to an age where you can say whatever you want and it doesn't matter anymore?
No. No, come on.
I mean, our grandparents
Herbert
said
Walker Bush was grabbing asses.
grabbing asses.
I mean, that's not good.
I mean, if I got to go back and
HW.
revisit everything my grandfather ever said,
listen. I'm very honest about it. It got to the point where I had to stop talking to my grandfather. I don't regret it. I stopped talking to him for, he passed away, and I didn't talk to him probably for a good couple of years because he was saying stuff that just I couldn't anymore, and I didn't even apologize. It just kind of like yeah, I'm not talking to him anymore. I know he's my grandfather, but like, no way. No, I'm not gonna do it.
It'd be interesting to see if he gets cut out of any of these, because he had already filmed, I think, 3 or 4 of those cameos that he does in these Marvel movies. I'm sure they're all easily cuttable scenes. But
yeah, but I'm sure they'll still keep it in. I'm sure. I mean, unless there's like video of him.
Yeah.
Even
then, we got plenty of video and audio of Mel Gibson. That doesn't seem to matter anymore.
Got audio of a certain. No, I'm not going there. A certain president. I'm not gonna.
Oh, that was, that's fake news.
Everything's fake news. This whole show's fake news.
The award show tomorrow, I believe, the fake news show award, because our president has time to do that kind of shit. Break up fake news awards for everybody.
Oh, great. I don't even know what that is, but...
Oh, you didn't see that? Yeah, he tweeted out he's going to give out fake news awards to whoever, did the worst thing to him, I guess, last year.
Great.
Yeah.
This is our world.
Yeah, that's it. Oprah 2020. And we'd have to vote for her. You can see.
I don't know. Who's going to be the third party? Who's going to be the one that's stealing votes?
Hopefully Abe. I don't know.
Maybe.
If he keep dual citizenship, it'd be good. That's a depressing end to our show today.
Go see I, Tanya.
Subscribe this video.
Go see I, Tanya. It's very good.
Very good.
Please make sure to like and subscribe. Marty probably put some videos over my face, his face, all over this place.
To link to all the Golden Globe. I mean, we did Disaster Artist, and we've talked about Dunkirk and
yeah. You can always try to find those links and throw that in there. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter at Movie Stuff Show. We'll be back next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hey, we started on time this week, so show up on time. We might do the post. We might do Florida Project. We might do both. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a thing where we can, half hour on each. So it shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. So
especially since one is staying home to watch it. So.
Yes. We'll be back next week. We'll try to crank out some of these Oscar movies. I almost feel like I wish I could just take a day off and just go binge like these movies in the theaters. Just spend a whole day like just trying to.
Martin Luther King Day coming up.
I don't.
You don't get that off? Your company's not forward thinking like mine?
My company is so forward thinking that in order to celebrate Martin Luther King Day, we get together and we appreciate it as a group, as a family, as a collective, and we reflect upon how important he has been to our country.
My company uses it as a reason to have a 3-day hangover after the company party on Friday before.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'm very familiar with your company.
But they throw in a quote or two about MLK for, change and stuff.
Yeah. My company is minority owned.
Mine is almost not owned. So
Fair point. Fair point. So if no one owns it, then technically does everyone own it? I mean, that's all right. Good night. Bye,
everybody.